do your own thing. You got to do you, and you got to not be afraid to fail. I mean, you got to fail.
Today's show is sponsored by Enigma Elements. As filmmakers, we're always looking for ways to level up production value of our projects and speed up our workflow. This is why I created Enigma Elements, your one-stop shop for film grains, color grading LUTs, vintage analog textures like VHS and CRT images, smoke, fog textures, DaVinci Resolve presets, and much more. After working as an editor, colorist, post, and VFX supervisor for almost 30 years, I know what film creatives need to level up their projects. Check out enigmaelements.com and use the coupon code IFH10 to get 10% off your order. I'll be adding new elements all the time. Again, that's Enigma, ENIGMA, elements.com. I'd like to welcome back to the show, returning champion, Julian Galea. How you doing, brother?
G'day, mate. Good, thanks. Good.
You just woke up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm getting over it. I'm having a cup of Joe. Isn't that what you call it?
Well, in the 50s, we did that. Yes. Yes. Not
Saw it on a movie. Saw it on a movie once.
Saw it in a movie once. So, for everyone who doesn't know who Julian is, Julian was on the Indie Film Hustle podcast about 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Almost, it was 2017. Yeah, for his first micro budget film, Love to Paradise, and he was able to rank in the top 3 of iTunes in Australia, correct?
Yeah.
And we've talked all about how he was able to do that, and now he has a new film called Made in Malta, and we're going to dig deep into the filmtrepreneur side of how you made this movie, your mindset behind it, the stories behind how you made it, and all the cool stuff that I know of, but I want to share with the audience and the tribe as well. But first, you originally, and we talked a little bit about this in the other episode, but I want to kind of just do a recap. Yeah. You originally quit your original job and said, screw it, I'm going to be a filmmaker, and you moved to the US to study film. Is that what it was, right? Tell the story.
Yeah. Yep. So I had a career in construction management, and that's what I did. I used to manage big construction projects and stuff until I got to I was about 30. I was about 30 years old, and I wasn't happy doing what I was doing at all, and I was looking for something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I took a trip to New York. At this point, I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to get the hell out of Sydney. So I went and had 3 months in New York, and when I was there, I went and checked out a little filmmaking school there, and did a little 2-day course, little filmmaking course there, because I've always been interested in photography since I've been a kid. Mm-hmm. I had a dark room when I was 13 or something, and I did a lot of photography when I was in my teens, and did this course, and I absolutely loved it. And I still remember the conversation I had with my mate. Okay, this is it. This is what I'm doing. I want to be a filmmaker. That's it. That's what I've been doing. Then everything just started making sense, Yeah, that's why I did photography. That's why And I said, this is it. This is what I'm doing. If I had told myself back then how hard it would have been to actually, become a filmmaker, I would have said, fucking run. You know what I mean? But, you're a lunatic. And so I came back to Sydney, and I quit my job and sold my car and tried to get up as much money as I could. And then moved to New York and lived there for 2 years. I went to film school and then just worked on a bunch of different independent movies and commercials and anything basically I could get experience on. I was doing. Learned a lot there. And then came back to Sydney, started Galea Pictures, and kept making short films, basically music videos, short films. Tried to get big features not big features. I mean, when I say big features, I'm talking
a feature.
Yeah, I'm talking I thought a few $1 million kind of,
Oh, yeah. Everyone listening.
That's my mindset, right? Isn't that film school where that's what they teach you, right? That's what you need. You need the gaffer, you need the grip, you need this, you need that.
So please, everyone listening, please, I want to please just point something. I want to put a spotlight on what he just said. If anyone ever tells you, oh, it's only a $2 million budget, run the other way. It's not the way it works. Like you're trying to get off the ground. Your first feature film to be $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million is so difficult. And it was difficult back when you were trying to do it. And now, oh my God, it's almost impossible. You really have to have a lot of things in a row to do something like that. But
Definitely.
I wasted a decade at least of my career chasing that kind of.
But how disheartening as it is, just think about how much like time, effort, energy, and effort and hope that you went through trying to get these things up. If you could reserve all that power and actually put it in to just a small film to get yourself rolling, you know what I mean? I think you'd just be a lot stronger as a filmmaker because, by the end of that, took 7 years of not getting anything made from my perspective, right? You'll get something up and looks like it's going to work, and then someone falls through, and all this shit.
No, we have this actor attached, and the money's about to drop, or we have a letter of intent. Exactly. All that kind of stuff. But then and what is your day-to-day hustle now?
I run Guerrilla Pictures, which is a production company, which I produce my features through as well. But on a day-to-day, I do like corporate stuff. We do the odd music video, here and there, but it's mostly corporate videos. Internet content, just general content for brands and businesses and stuff like that. Yeah, but that's my data. But I'm always working on a feature. Like if, for example, now I've just released Made in Malta, and when I say released, it's not just an overnight release. I mean, you're working. If you're self-distributing,
we're going to get into it. Don't worry, we'll get into it. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And now you're working on another one.
Now, well, I was actually should have been shooting by now, but I pulled the handbrake on it because I wasn't 100% happy with the second half of the script, and now I'm rewriting it.
Okay.
So I'm going to shoot my third one as soon as I finish the script and get it going into production. But probably in 2 months I'll be ready to shoot.
And I wanted again also put a little bit of a spotlight on what you said too, is that you run a production company. It's taking you a little bit of time to get that up and running, but once you got it up and running, now your income is made by doing stuff that you love to do. It's within the business, and it allows you to go after your dream and to build up other revenue streams from your movies and things like that. Because as Love to Paradise is still making you money, still bringing in money. And now with the release of the second movie, it's actually reinvigorated the first movie because people are finding it. And you're building a portfolio. You're slowly building a portfolio like a production company would or a studio would, where they have a portfolio of 200-300, a library of hundreds of movies, thousands of movies that generate revenue streams coming in all the time. But we're doing it on a smaller scale, but still a scale that doesn't have to much smaller. But at the end of the day, you know what? We don't need tens of millions of dollars. Do I have a roof over my head? Can I put food on the table? Can I feed my family? Can I love doing what I do? Are we good?
No, that's it. But look, I find that compared to like other people that I know, if I get too much corporate work, I don't like it, to be honest with you.
I know the feeling.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like I do enough to like I do enough so it doesn't deter me from making featured films, basically. Because if I do too much, I feel like I'm just
But it also drives
making movies, because that's what I want to do. But being realistic about the situation. Being like realistic about everything. I mean, we need money. Money's a problem that needs to be solved, and making micro budget features until things are like really rolling, or you got yourself a hit, is not gonna feed you full time, especially in freaking Sydney. I need to have my production company to make that bread and butter. My long term plan is to have enough runs on the board and a portfolio that's bringing me income and making bigger and bigger films with bigger budgets, hopefully with bigger chunks of money in there that I'm getting paid fees enough to make my movies that I'm making a living from. But that's a process.
It's a long game. It's a long game.
Yeah, it's a long game. Yeah, definitely.
So how has Love to Paradise done since last we spoke?
Love to Paradise did much better than I ever expected. It was always supposed to be just this small movie, and I managed to get a theatrical run in Malta for 4 weeks, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did a theatrical here in Australia, one of the biggest exhibitors here in Australia, and that was great. That really helped push all the VOD sales. So that was awesome, man. And it's still making me money. Not like it was at the beginning when you launch, but I'm still making sales. Now I've actually put it up. Recently, I've put it up on Amazon Prime, and oh my God, I've got so many people watching that movie now that it's on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Like heaps more. And I'm kind of like, if at this point now with the movie as well, by putting it up there, by having more people see it, I'm happy with that. I mean, what do you make per stream? Like, you
don't make a whole lot on per stream, but it does expose people to you and your brand and what you're doing and things like that. And believe it or not, because Amazon's so massive, I mean, it's a massive corporation and audience. A lot of people are making a lot more money on streaming than they would on TVOD or AVOD.
Right.
So it's pretty.
Yeah. Well, on Amazon Prime, like if you do it yourself, you only can go on the US and UK, right?
Right.
We'll talk about that. We can go into that. But if you go to Amazon Prime yourself without going through a aggregator, you only can get it up on US and UK. But even just those two territories, once I've put it on Prime, like I'm getting like 50 to 70 views a day for that film. Like that's a lot of people watching a little movie.
A lot of people watching.
But consistently, it ranges from like 50 to 70 every day about how many views I'm getting. So I'm happy with that. I'm glad that people are getting to watch it. And I get a lot of people like, just recently I had someone write me this 2-page email. This really great guy in Malta who was at the cinema to watch Made in Malta, and he goes, "I've just come back. I can't believe how much this movie was about our lives and him and his girlfriend." And it was a really really deep email. He goes, "I found out about you through Love to Paradise. I couldn't wait to see this." And yeah, he had actually seen Love to Paradise before. But I've got other people that find Love to Paradise because they've seen Made in Malta and everything, all the promotion and stuff that we've done for Made in Malta. So that's great. And as you said, you start branding yourself, as this guy's got 2 movies now, soon to have 3 movies. I mean, starting to build a portfolio.
And what I find great about your story is that you aren't in LA, you're not even in the States, you're in Australia, which is, I mean, it's obviously a large country, and it has, but the film industry is small comparatively, and the audience is small. I mean, California has more people than Australia, I think. But you've been able to figure out a niche that is really interesting because you found Malta, which is like you've basically cornered the indie film industry in Malta almost.
Yeah.
And it's such an amazing, it's an amazing place. It's, the locations are amazing. The views are amazing. And they're so excited to see a guy with a camera. They're like, "You're making a movie?" And they just open up the red carpet for you. That is a great blueprint for people around the world and also around the country here in the US or even in Australia, where you can go to a small town. You can go to these areas that might be picturesque or beautiful, and they'll be much more open to you shooting there than if you try to shoot something here in LA. In LA, they just want cash. In New York, they just want cash. But in other places, they're still very excited about it. And I think what you've done is, I loved what you did with Love to Paradise, and now with Made in Malta, you've really branded it. You're like, let's just stop beating around the bush. Let's just call it Made in Malta.
Made in Malta, yeah, exactly. Look, Love to Paradise came from, I went and shot my movies in Malta, but that came from a very personal place as well. My family's from Malta, and part of Love to Paradise for me was, really a journey of self-discovery as well, myself and my heritage there. So it was really twofold, but it worked. It worked for the picture. It worked for my development as a human. You know what I mean? And my ancestry, and it was a great experience. And it was a successful one on Love to Paradise. So it was a rinse and repeat type thing for Made in Malta. A completely different story. Like Love to Paradise is about 2 strangers who meet and fall in love, and Made in Malta is about 2 ex-lovers who meet and rekindle their love. So one's about past love, one's about new love. But yeah, and definitely using Malta to to the best capacity that I could on a micro budget scale, which is still pretty cool. I mean, you can still do a lot these days with a small amount of money, making a decent looking production. I mean, it's not going to look like
Yeah,
a
but
$50 million blockbuster, but it can hold up, And in theaters, man, when it plays, like I shot both movies on the same camera. Wasn't my intention, right? But on the was, and I was going to shoot like the next one, like maybe Malta. I was going to shoot with a bigger formatted camera, but I'm like, why? I go, it looks great. I go, and I can save money. I go, fuck it. I said, that's it. I go, let's go shoot it again on the GH4, and it performed. I had a couple of little issues, but it performed well, and it looked great when it's screened.
And I also want to reiterate this as well, is that you just need to get the minimal viable product out into the marketplace. Something that looks could you have made it look better with an Alexa? Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Could you have added another?
The crew. The crew.
I was about to say, could you have added another $300,000-$400,000 for crew and other things? Could you have done it? Yes. Now, how much more money would you have been able to generate by blowing up the budget? So that's the things, like, what is the ROI? Does it make sense for this story with the cast that you have involved? It's all relative. So like when I shot,
that's 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what people don't think about. They just think about, I need the best. No, you don't, dude. No, you don't. Like, do you need a hammer or do you need the platinum hammer? Like, they both gonna get the nail in, but one might look prettier. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not about that. Where I did, on the corner of Ego and Desire, which I shot at Sundance with a Blackmagic Pocket 1080p camera. And when I played it at the Chinese theater, dude, I was shocked at how beautiful I was like, what?
Awesome.
Why should I ever shoot on, like, it's like, it was so stunningly beautiful, and it worked beautifully for that kind of story and that kind of film.
Sure.
But a minimal viable product.
Yeah, 100%. Look, when I was doing Love to Paradise back when I was getting ready to shoot this thing in 2017, at that time, think about 2017. So we're talking like, I was on a mission to see what is the least amount of money I can spend to get the look that I need, and like the quality, the production value enough. Right? Mm-hmm. What's the minimum amount of money I can spend? What's the camera that I need? I also wanted something very small. I was looking for a very small production footprint. I was only going to shoot with a very small crew. I knew all that, right? So I did a lot of research and saying, how cheap can I go? I was actually finding it really hard to find information on people who have shot features on like sort of prosumer gear, which
whatever.
Right, I'm so I got the GH4, which was like a $1,500 camera, right? Mm-hmm. The body of that camera, I used vintage primes which made it better, but it was a tiny camera and it suited my purpose, and even with sound gear as well, like we had our own sound kits, like the Rode. We shot with the Rode sound wireless sound kits, I haven't heard anyone who's shot a feature with that. I mean, we boomed as well, but whatever. They're still not expensive. It's not expensive gear, but it sounded great. And when it got to my sound designer who worked on the thing, and I was always very conscious about getting clean audio. And after a lot of testing and everything, we worked out a way to get good clean audio, and we did. And the movie sounds great. And we did the same thing on Made in Malta. So yeah. That was exactly what you just said. I mean, what are you going to get on the back end for something that looks 10% better?
But yeah, that's the thing, is like filmmakers don't look at films as products. They look at them as art a lot of times, and they just want the best brushes, the best paint brushes, the best paint, the best canvas as humanly possible, and that's fine. But there is a business where it's a very expensive art form. So if you're not, if you look at it as a product, when someone's going to tool up a new widget and they're going to try to sell that widget in the marketplace, that they're not going to look for the most expensive everything. They're going to look at what is the minimal viable product that's going to give me a good quality product that I'm able to sell to a consumer and make a profit on, and period. And that's how filmmakers need to start thinking. That's why you're on the show, sir.
Yeah. Well, look, things that me and you would pull our hair out on, like certain, matching shots on the color grade and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd get just a random, like one of my friends just come in and I'll show them something and they'll say, what? You know what I mean? I'm like, okay. What am I stressing for here?
Yeah,
And you'll have like little parts of your movie that aren't 100% right. But to the audience that are watching my movies, they're not seeing that.
Nope.
They're not seeing those little things. So the things that like us as filmmakers can really be pedantic on. And I mean, I think it's good to want to create the best film that you can. And it's important. You want to do great work, but
there's a balance.
Be mindful. There's a balance as well, and be mindful that your time is money as well. And it's time that you could be doing other things. It's time you could be doing your next movie because you've already shot this movie. It's as good. You want to get it as good as it can be, but at the end of the day, you need to let go. I find it hard to let go sometimes of my movie because I'm always trying to make it better. But in the back of my mind, I've got all these other stories percolating. I'm like, you're just killing your creative juice. Cut it, get it out there, move on. And work on something else because I know my next movie, it's gonna be even better. But it's important for me to tell these stories because they're films and they're stories that are important to me. But whether or not that those last few shots matched 100%, like who gives a shit? What's important for me is like getting my stories out there and telling the stories that I want to tell, and they take time, and I think you're probably better off spending time in the writing process and getting that script tighter than you are spending more money on production or post-production. I think it's much more important to have a solid script than it is to have enough money to make it look, a lot more, valuable than what it is.
Right.
Story is everything, and performance,
You mean to tell me that story and performance are more important than the latest camera or lens? No, stop it. That's not what the marketing tells us. Obviously, the companies tell us that we need to buy the latest 25K or 50K resolution cameras.
50K, man.
50K resolution because our eyes stop at, I think, 12K. I don't even know what our eyes can't even see.
We'll have 50K. We'll just do one wide shot and then just do it all in post. That's it.
It's kind of like Endgame. It's like Avengers Endgame. All the characters are on the shot once as you just zoom in and out.
Now, speaking about Avengers Endgame, speaking about Avengers Endgame, on now with Made in Malta, we were just behind Avengers on the iTunes chart. That was the only title that we couldn't beat.
Well, that's not a bad place to be. So we're gonna talk about the iTunes charts in a minute. Now, also, so you shot with the GH4, which is an older camera, which is the camera I have here, and I'm gonna sell soon too.
2016, I think that came out.
Yeah, it's a great camera. It's a great little camera. And if anyone's out there that want to buy one, I'm looking to sell my old one.
Alex, your man.
You see, always got to hustle, baby. Always hustling. But what was the crew situation like for this? So people understand what was literally it takes to do this.
Look, man, I had a very similar crew than what we did on Love to Paradise. On my minimum days, it was like just me and my sound. When I say my sound guy, he was everything. He was my EP, my sound guy. My brother in arms, kind of a friend of mine, Niccolo, who I made Love to Paradise with as well. He's an Italian filmmaker. He's actually working on his first feature now. And like on the minimum days where we couldn't, where we're trying to get access to places we weren't really supposed to and things like that. We had to be quite covert. It was just us two. And the other days was like up to 5. So 5 to 2, depending.
And then plus the couple characters that you had, the couple actors you had.
There's only 2 actors in the whole movie.
Fantastic.
And me. I've got a small little role in the movie as well.
We all have to. We have to do our Hitchcock. I unfortunately have to be in my. I've always had either my voice or my face or something in my movies. Just why not? Now
we're there.
Yeah, we're there.
Exactly. Character, we get it.
And it's actually the reason I cast myself in on the corner was because I'm like, I'm not going to pay another actor to play a podcaster.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. And I'll work late for free. It's great. And
you're not eating much these days, man.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Now, you said a little bit about not getting permission. Did you shoot this Guerrilla?
Look, some parts it did. Most of the scenes of the film we had permissions from cafe owners and so forth. But there was other scenes a little bit half sketchy, where we didn't get permission. But in saying that, I didn't want to draw too much attention to the situation anyway. Look, one trick for filmmakers out there that we can really pull off these days, because everyone's just got a camera. But if your camera is small enough, if you wire your characters up, right, and just go into a place that's not too crazy, you know what I mean? But if they're wired up, you do your sound check, you're good. I mean, just hit record, go in there and start shooting. I mean,
yeah. And no one's going to notice it because it's just you with a GH4 that looks like a still camera.
The GH4, it's this big. I mean, I strip all the rig off when I'm doing that.
Of course.
I mean, and just have a camera, but if you want to get those type of shots, then you can get them. And not only that, like if it's not an important scene with dialogue, I mean, just not have dialogue. I mean, just shoot the action, and you could have some voiceover or whatever else is happening in the film, but you could still get a lot of shots that you need for a film, without permission. But in saying that, look, it depends on the type of scenes that you're working on. If it's a type of scene where it's an important dialogue scene, and you're going to be doing
20 takes,
5 to 20 takes. You know what I mean? Sometimes I do 20 takes. And it's pretty obvious that you're shooting a movie, right? But if it's just like in a bit of a part of a montage scene, or something like that, where you're sort of in and out, or something, you would just want to get like maybe a tracking shot or something like that, and you don't have any coverage, sure, then you can go for it, right? I mean, I've heard some lunatics on your show that have gone in there and done some great stuff, right? Like I'm not that like nuts.
You mean like going to Sundance and shooting an entire movie?
Exactly.
You mean that kind of lunatic? Like
talking to the guy. I'm talking to the guy.
And then submit that film to Sundance.
Yeah, can you believe they didn't accept it? Like, come on, man.
Shocking. But I've said this a couple times. It was the most watched screener link I've ever sent out. So the screener link, it was because normally when you send a screener link out to a film festival, it's watched 2 times, 3 times. It was watched 64 times. So it basically was passed around the entire Sundance organization. Because
so you do one link per.
Well, for Sundance Sundance was a special link, so I made sure to send them a special link. I had different versions of the film. So at the end of the film, I would have different film festivals. There's basically a different ending for each. I have like 5 or 6 different endings that I would custom make for each festival.
Nice. I like it. So it's like tailoring your resume for a job. You know what I mean? I like it.
So it's very small. So you did a little bit of Guerrilla. You did some permissions and things like that. You also told me that you used Love to Paradise as a character in the film. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Okay. So I got to Love to Paradise came out in 2017, right? We made it in 2016. It came out in 2017. Now, in 2017, when I shot Made in Malta, I basically I got to Malta the day before the premiere of Love to Paradise. Right?
Nice.
I got there for the premiere. We had a premiere night. We did a Q&A. It was awesome. The movie was playing there for 4 weeks. Right? So I had 2 weeks of pre-production in Malta.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. As filmmakers, we're always looking for ways to level up production value of our projects and speed up our workflow. This is why I created Enigma Elements, your one-stop shop for film grains, color grading LUTs, vintage analog textures like VHS and CRT images, smoke, fog textures, DaVinci Resolve presets, and much more. Check out enigmaelements.com and use the coupon code IFH10 to get 10% off your order. And now back to the show.
And then we were shooting, right? So while I was shooting, Love to Paradise was still playing in cinemas, right? And I'm shooting my second movie. And Made in Malta is a film about an American filmmaker who's in Malta for the premiere of his film, when the woman who walked out on him 5 years earlier and ripped his heart apart shows up, right, and turns his life upside down. So what I did is that I used Love to Paradise as the film that he was premiering in Malta. So like the posters were on the walls, you know what I mean? The movie was being advertised all over Malta. So I've used those scenes in the film. And because I had a good relationship with the exhibitor there as well, they let me shoot in the cinema, because I've got a scene inside the cinema, I've got a scene outside the set. I was shooting around the complex and using the posters of Love to Paradise. So
which almost guarantees a theatrical release for your next movie. I mean, it literally almost guarantees it. I mean, but look, we're laughing, but it's not. This is not.
Well, you got to think about these things, right?
I mean, come on, this is brilliant marketing.
It's free advertising. It's free advertising for them, and it works for me as well. And it's you're saving on production design as well, and all the rest of it. So it was a complete win-win. And then we got a theatrical release for Made in Malta as well. It played in Malta for a month.
That's awesome. And you since you are self-distributing this, you keep all the cash.
Yeah,
basically.
Well, with the exhibitor, it's we
whatever. Of course.
Shared a split rev deal with the exhibitor, just as any distributor would.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
But there's no middleman for you. There's no one taking a piece of you. It's like it's just you and the distributor. You are the exhibitor, actually.
That's right. I mean, you're acting as your own theatrical distributor. And look, just on that as well, this isn't, it's something that I did with Love to Paradise the first time, but since then, in the US, AMC now have AMC Independent, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Where they actually will take, I think, 6 to 8 films a year, I think it is, where you can pitch to them. And if they like the movie, and a lot of that's got to do with what you're doing behind the scenes and your promotion and marketing plan, and audience engagement and so forth. But they will do a deal with you direct, where they will exhibit your movie in AMC cinemas, in select AMC cinemas. But they also, I think, it's an exclusive deal, and also I think there's a 3 or 6 month window where you can't release on VOD after that. But Jump on the AMC Independent website. Down the bottom is a link, AMC Independent. It's really interesting. If I was in the US, I'd definitely be exploring it. I did actually look at it, and I spoke to them about it for Made in Malta. But I think their turnaround is like 8 weeks before they, will get back to you. And at that point, I had already had all my release sort of, plan done, and I didn't end up submitting. I don't know if I would have got in, but I didn't end up submitting. But it's something I would have definitely looked at, And it's great that there's exhibitors out there that are actually recognizing, independent films and giving opportunity to small filmmakers, like us, that, you can get your movie out there, theatrically. And I did a similar thing.
No, I was gonna ask you as well. The look of the film is so awesome, and you use Film Convert as well for that, right? The plug-in Film Convert, which I've used on both of my films as well.
Yeah. I used it also, Film Convert on Love to Paradise.
Mhm.
Look, I love it, and especially for the looks of these films that I wanted to get, it was perfect. And the guys at Film Convert are great as well, and they've been really supportive of my work as well, and have put some showcase,
Mhm.
what do you call it? Not a podcast.
Yeah, well, email blasts and website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and things like things like that. Like they've promoted my movie basically as well, and they've been really supportive, which has been great. And also when I switched from Final Cut to DaVinci, they gave me a free version of the thing. Just saying, like that was really nice of them. You know what I mean? They didn't have to that, but that was great. I appreciate something like that. And my whole move to DaVinci was because of you. Remember we sat down and you go, "What are you doing, Julian? Get DaVinci." And I'm like, all right,
I'm
maybe
s-
I should check
I'm
that
so
out.
I'm so glad I could help,
Man,
sir.
I'm totally hooked now. Like, I'm Da Vinci all the way. I even made my own DCP off that bloody thing. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
you
You can make
can.
it. Yeah,
Of
it's
course.
unbelievable.
No, no.
So
For everybody
yeah,
out there, DaVinci Resolve is by far the most powerful and the most affordable because it's free editing software out there. Or if you want to get the full blown versions, like a couple $100, $200-300, or buy a
yeah.
camera and it's free. It's insane.
Buy the Blackmagic Pocket, you get it for free.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's
But Da
it's insane.
Vinci now, it's fantastic. I know this isn't a gear thing, but Da Vinci now, like just having everything in one interface, yeah, it's pretty
Oh, it's
awesome.
it's
You know?
insane. But as a film entrepreneur, you got to look at ways to save costs. You've
Yeah.
got to look at ways to save cost and to just to again keep the overhead as low as humanly possible. And
Mm.
that's the point of thinking as an entrepreneurial filmmaker. And DaVinci Resolve is one of those things, and using old camera gear that looks perfectly fine is another way. It's a different mindset than a lot of the stuff that they teach you at film school, or they're teaching you on a lot of these filmmaking blogs where you need to get the latest this or you need to get the latest that or blah 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 blah. It's all part of it, man. You got to be smarter than that if you want to win at this game, because
Yeah.
it's not an easy game
You
to
got to
win.
keep. No, it's not. And you got to keep your overheads as low as possible. But in saying that as well, you need to make movies, man. You don't get better at making movies unless you're making movies.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like really, like I can see my skill set as a filmmaker increase every time I make something, and I get. That's what I was saying before. If I'm getting too much like corporate work, that actually really it just like it's kind of just sucks my like creative juice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm doing, but you need to make money, and you need something, and people need content. You know what I mean? More than ever before. My people need content. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a market. There's a market for that. So
So
yeah.
so please lay out the full distribution plan of Made in Malta.
Okay. So my plan for Made in Malta was I thought this film had a chance at getting into a half decent festival, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to finish it and submit it to the major festivals first, right? And I said to myself, and I knew I was taking a risk by doing this and saying, look,
Mm-hmm.
you can basically risk up to a year
Yes.
waiting for this shit, or you can get it out there now,
Mm.
right? So I waited, did not get in to any major film festivals, and I'm like, well, that was great, and you're disheartened by that whole thing as well, right? You know what I mean?
I went through
Look,
the exact same thing with
uh,
Ego and
look,
Desire.
would I
What?
do it again? Never.
Mm-mm.
Like
I'm not
now,
going to do it again.
do it again, unless I was working with someone who, I was working with a distributor or something who had like some sort of, connection or whatever. But I wouldn't, if I'm just blind someone, like for me, it's much more worth it for me as a filmmaker to get my work out there and keep moving forward, because I'm someone who I can't keep still. It really, for my personality, it just damages me. I need to keep moving. Like really, I'm not good at keeping still. I got to keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
I got to keep making stuff. And during that process, like it's a bit of a mind bender as well. Trying to go there, getting rejected and stuff. I mean, you got to take rejection. I mean, it's filmmaking. But
Mm-hmm.
when you get you're waiting a whole amount of time, and you've waited for this and you've sacrificed getting your movie out during that time, right? it can hurt. But then again, I did it because I thought it had a shot, and a lot of filmmakers do that as well.
We all
But
think we have a shot. We all think we have a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how many submissions in Sundance this year? Was it 14,000 or something?
No, it was
Something
18,200. 18,200. I did a whole episode. I'm like, hey, I didn't get into Sundance. I didn't get into Sundance, and it's okay. You know, I didn't either. You didn't get into Sundance. I didn't either. You know, there was only like 190 something films, including short films, that got into the Sundance Film Festival. I do want to talk about something real quick since we brought it up, is the film festivals. And it's a mistake that so many filmmakers make, including myself, if people like you and I, who've been in the game for a while, are making this mistake, there's a reason why, and that most other filmmakers will make it as well. I made Ego and Desire January of 2018. Okay. I that was the Sundance that we shot. I still have, as of this recording, have not released the film yet. I'm going to be releasing it in the next few weeks of this recording. But I waited a year because I wanted to submit to what? Sundance. Same. Because I thought if there was ever a chance that I could get into a film at Sundance, this would be it. But I got into Rain Dance, which was great. I got a world premiere.
Rain Dance, that's solid, man.
It's a world premiere at Rain Dance. But I wasted because I went after all the big boys because I said, this is my shot. And I ask myself, I'm like, how much, again, on a filmtrepreneur standpoint, what is the ROI on this year-long wait? Could I have released it 3 months afterwards? Because the movie was done within 2 months. Could I have released it 3 or 4 months after Sundance when I shot it and built on it and just gone and just like taken off with it? Or this year. So did I gain a whole lot waiting this year for the lottery ticket of getting into one of these big festivals? Because I wasn't submitting to second tier and third tier festivals. I
wasn't either. I just went to the top tier ones. But in saying that, let's put a little caveat here, right? If you did get in, it would have changed. It would have changed everything. And look,
but does it though? That's the question. But does it?
Okay. Well, this is my mindset now with regards to film festivals. If you have I think because of the saturation of the amount of movies that are getting made and the whole digital revolution, the amount of movies getting made now is just crazy. For you to stand out, for your title to stand out amongst all these titles is more important than ever. So having the champion of a major tier festival now, I think more than ever, is actually more important to actually having your film shown. Now, but the amount of films actually get bought at these festivals is less and less and less. I know that, but I think a great launching pad for it's great marketing, basically.
If you get into Sundance, absolutely. If you get into South by, absolutely. Tribeca, Cannes, there's 5 or 6 of them. Yeah. After that, it doesn't matter. From my perspective, it doesn't matter if you get into some of these. Is it nice? Sure. Is it nice to get the red carpet, take some pictures, maybe get some press? Absolutely. But what does that mean in dollars? Does that actually turn into money or revenue or exposure to the point where that also then turns into money or opportunities for the filmmaker? Yeah. That's the thing that after doing this so long, and I've been in 600 plus film festivals over the course of my career. I've done the film festival thing. I don't find it that in today's world, it doesn't carry as much weight as it used to, unless you have one of the big tier festivals or you shotgun it, where you it's part of. I've been accepted into 40 film festivals, which I've done that too. And you put 40 laurels on the poster and it looks really impressive. And it also depends on the kind of movie it is. If it's a horror action movie, it doesn't matter. If it's a comedy, a comedy, no one cares. If it's a dramatic, serious piece, maybe a little bit of a romantic drama, maybe. And that's a big maybe. But again, it's only those big guys. Because I know guys who won Sundance and nothing. Yeah.
Didn't get a deal or nothing.
Not a deal, not an agent. It happens, but it happens all the time. And that's not what people know.
And my mindset was like this. It's like, okay, even if you got into, a festival, like after the top tier or whatever, even if you go into a festival, why do you want to get into a festival? To get exposure, to get the film sold. But then I'm like, but
I'm not selling
I've done my selling. I've already sold it. I've already distributed the movie. I'm already acting as my own distributor. You're getting into a festival to attract a distributor so they can distribute your movie to a theater and everything else, right? But I'm like, but I'm doing that already. I've already got that relationship. I'm starting to, with a couple of territories, Australia and Malta, with my films, starting somewhere, right? But I'm
Sure.
doing that. I'm like, so you're already doing it, you know? I battled with the whole thing and I took the risk on this one. Would I take it again?
No, I won't do it
wouldn't
either.
take it again. And I would just put all my, time, effort, energy into getting my movie out and working with either a distributor or self-distributing the movie. You know what I mean? If it's a distributor that I wanted to work with, and look, I had some offers for Made in Malta as well, and look, none of them stacked up.
No MGs, no minimum guarantees.
Oh yeah, dismal. You know what I mean? It's like seriously, dude?
I'll give you $500. I'll give you $500
like that, exactly. But it's like, yeah, man.
And we owned it for 10 years. And we owned it for 10 years. And it's a 60-40 split. And it's like, it doesn't make any sense. For certain films, traditional legacy distribution models make sense. For certain films, with certain cast, with certain situations, it does kind of make sense. Certain budget ranges, like, to self-distribute a $10 million movie, that's not going to happen. It's going to be extremely difficult for you to make any money. You would be basically the biggest self-distributed film of all time. But for a certain budget range, it makes absolute perfect sense. For like the films for films like the you and I make at the micro budget film world, it's foolish to distribute unless it's a specific kind of like the distributor that we were talking about before we got on air, that it makes financial sense to do so. Then yes, and you can carve out certain territories or certain kind of rights. Makes sense. Yeah. There's certain types of at times it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. But self-distribution, you really need to, like you were saying earlier, when you're done with the movie, you're 50% there.
That's my new rule.
It's much more work.
I got a new rule. I'm calling it the 50% rule. When you finish your movie and you're self-distributing, you're 50% done, and that's no joke, man.
And it's much more work.
Getting the movie out there,
out
there successfully takes a lot of work. I mean, look, like I'll take Made in Malta for example. Like, I'm doing all my own PR, right? That's news stations, that's newspapers, that's magazines, online and hard copy magazines, influencers I'm getting in touch with. Like for my movie, it's a travel romance, right? So I was hitting the whole travel demographic, right? And it's because it's done in Malta. I was hitting all the Maltese expats and everything to do with Malta, European travel. Like they were my two sort of target groups. So I was doing. I had a bunch of screenings also in Australia, and I teamed up with all the Maltese communities, right? And then we did screenings, and man, they were sold out, man, and they loved the movie. You know what I mean? Because it's someone who they see the movie for Malta. You know what I mean? Whereas an art house kind of lover will watch my movie and appreciate it for the art house film that it is. You know what I mean? and the dramatic romance it is. Whereas someone who's from Malta watch it and they love Malta, and hopefully they get an understanding of the type of story that I'm trying to tell as well. But they'll go just to see Malta. You know what I mean? Up on the screen. So when you're doing all your own PR and marketing, and you're cutting all this content that you're putting on Facebook and Instagram, you're doing targeted ads. This stuff takes time. It's a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
It's a full-time job to do it successfully and to give your movie its best shot. It's basically a full-time job. It takes a lot of time, but there's reward there as well. The more effort you put in, the more sales you get, the more outlets that are. I was very lucky. I made a multitude. I've had a lot of press on this movie. And I managed to get a lot of press on this movie as well, here and in Malta. And I got to tell you, man, the haterade, forget about it.
By the pallet, they're buying it.
I didn't have it with Love to Paradise because I think I was just like no one's ever heard of me. But now, and because I've got a lot more traction with this movie, I'm like, they're coming out like with knives, like really.
I've
got two ends of the scale. I've got like people who like adore my movies and sending me 2-page emails about how much my movie has really touched them, And then I've got like people who just they want to rip me apart and say that I'm terrible. I can't direct. My movie sucks. And
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
like just
I love those people. But the thing is, I'll tell you my story real quick. When I did my first film, at the first 60 reviews I got, I had like 60 all like, this is great. It's like The Matrix meets Fight Club. It's all this kind of stuff for my first short film, right? I get
wow.
one review with Roger Ebert. Okay, Roger Ebert. I met Roger
Oh
Ebert.
yeah, wow. I can't believe that. That's
I
amazing.
met Roger Ebert, and Roger Ebert is so kind and gives me a slight, like 2-sentence review in an article he writes about me and talks about my movie. And I use that, of course, everywhere. And
Of course.
like the next 10 reviews were just destructive. Like the hater rate came out. It was, and it's just the way people are. And filmmakers listening, listen, man, if you're not pissing somebody off,
you know, the filmmakers, come on.
No. If you're not pissing off somebody, you're not doing good work. That's the way I look at it. Like you've got to, if everyone loves your stuff, then that means that you're probably, you've hit the middle. You haven't, you've homogenized the whole thing in many ways. And enough people haven't seen your stuff. So you've got to get a little bit of haterade. I think it's a badge of honor to get a little bit of haterade, but that's just me.
Yeah. I was watching a interview with John Cassavetes, and he was talking about I forget what movie it was that got, I forget which one it was. Anyway, it was the first screening, or it was the premiere, and he was saying that too many people like the movie. He goes, we got to change. He goes, we got to change it. It's not ready. There's too many people that like the movie. They're not supposed to like it.
I remember that. I remember the story. It was like a standing ovation. People were clapping. He's like, wait a minute, no, wait. This is not good. This is not good. We have gone astray somewhere. People are enjoying my film.
We got to fix this. Oh man,
and he's the best. That is John Cassavetes. So all right, so distribution. So you're doing.
So where we at? Yeah. Where am I at with the distribution at the moment? Okay,
so you were at festivals. You stopped at festivals.
Festivals. Okay, so no festivals, and then I'm like, okay, plan B, basically. So then I did a deal with the Theatrical in Malta. Mm-hmm. I set a release date theatrically. Engaged an aggregator. I went with Bitmax again, and this time I only distributed in North America, Australia, and New Zealand, and the UK. I only kept it to 5 territories. Last time I made in Malta, I released as well as good. This time I contained it because I'm still actually speaking to a couple of international
buyers
territories at the moment. Yeah, and I'm like Asia and parts of Europe and stuff like that. So I'll probably have certain territories sold as well. So I'm sort of holding back on them. But I basically released in those territories that I just said, and I windowed that release as well. So do you want me to talk about that?
Yes, please. Or not? Please.
Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, we're going to do on top of the theatrical release. I'm going to release on iTunes, and I started on iTunes only. I didn't go to Google Play or Amazon. So they're the only 3 platforms that I want to use, and I'll tell you why. In Australia, right, we have Amazon. Amazon's in Australia now, but only Amazon Prime is in Australia, right? Like
you can't rent or buy. You can't rent or buy.
That's it. You can't rent or buy in Australia. So I'm like, I need to do iTunes. Now, I'll be honest with you. If Amazon did the rent or buy in Australia, I probably wouldn't have even gone the iTunes route. And Amazon also don't do a pre-order period on films. They do on books, but they don't do it on movies, right? And I wanted a pre-order period so I could build up my sales, and a very similar approach to what I did with Love to Paradise, where I basically had a pre-order period. And during that time, I promoted my movie and he reached out to everyone that I knew, and also did a lot of promotion about the movie about pre-order now, and try to build those pre-orders up as much as possible. And during that time, we ranked second on iTunes this time, right? During this pre-order, we got a lot of pre-orders, right, on that movie, which is quite amazing when your movie and your title's up there against the biggest movies in the world at the moment. It's a massive deal. People are seeing your film there that it automatically gives it, the type of value that and people don't know how much the movie cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
They see a nice piece of artwork up on a poster, they think it's solid as well, and you want that type of exposure. So the whole plan was to build these pre-sales up enough so when the movie launched on the release day, that you've garnished enough pre-sales that you're ranking up there again with these bigger titles, and that's what we did. The movie dropped, and we were in a new and noteworthy section, and the sales, like as I was saying before, when the movie started, the sales were just like boom up like that, and then they'll slowly dip, and that's when you start to sort of play the piano with your marketing as well. It's like, okay, we're now starting to dip. I need to push more targeted ads and this and that.
So can we talk a little bit about what you did in the marketing?
Yeah, so I basically cut content, right? And that ranged, man. Like I did stuff from like on the final day of shooting my movie. I shot Made in Malta in 8 days, by the way. I shot Love to Paradise in 12. I shot
8 days.
You shot yours in 4, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean 8 days. What are you, Spielberg? I mean, you just have all the time in the world. Jesus. Oh, look at who 8 days. No, go ahead.
4 days. Was it
4 days?
Crazy.
I didn't have a choice, brother. I didn't have a choice. It was only 4 days we had everybody.
Holy shit, man! I shot it in 8 days.
Okay.
And I thought I was doing good. All right. So yeah, on the final day of shooting, I did like hour interviews with both my actors. So I had their and Nicola as well, my EP. So I had all this sort of content that I knew I was going to chop up down the track, right? Because I didn't get enough of that on Love to Paradise, and I was struggling to find content to promote with on Love to Paradise, which I learned, And I was also trying to shoot a lot of stuff sort of when I wasn't shooting, I was also shooting other stuff, which I knew I'd use, you know what I mean?
Sure.
For like the bits and pieces and this and that. And even like when we're riding through Malta, because this movie was shot all over Malta, just like Love to Paradise, yeah? We're catching buses everywhere once again, you know what I mean? We're eating our food on the way from location to location. Like it was bare bones shooting. Like it was, yeah. There was no luxury there, but we all knew that going in. I was very open about that process. But anyway, I had all this content that I would just cut, a bunch of interviews, overlaid with parts of my movie that I wanted to show, or sort of behind the scene, anything I had, I just cut up content pretty much, And if it's content that I'm targeting to my Malta audience, then I'll have all the pretty pictures of Malta, all the nice shots of Malta, this and that, and I'll target on Facebook ads. Man, you can get so targeted, it's freaky. You know what I mean? You can target someone's been divorced in the last 12 months, and things like that. So yeah, I prey on the vulnerability of the heartbroken and this and that, because my movies are a romance and things like that. And it becomes I don't know, it's trial and error when you're putting ads out. It's trial and error. You see what works, you see what demographic you're taking, then you narrow in on that demographic. Okay, yeah, I need more of this. That's really working. And it becomes a bit of a game. And you don't have to be spending a lot of money to do this. Like you can start your ads like low ads and see what type of engagement you get. You can throw in like whatever, $5-10 a day, see what type of engagement you get, practice with that, and say, okay, this is where it's at. Then put your money into stuff that what's going to work. So I was constantly doing that, creating content and doing targeted ads for
and you had a good and you had a good ROI from the money that you're spending in marketing to purchases or rentals.
Yes, but I also did it during the pre-order period as well. So, they'll purchases, but I didn't, return on that money until, it dropped. But
sure.
yeah. But yeah. I mean, as I said, you can start your ads from like, $5 a day, and you're getting engagement.
Smart.
If you're targeting to your demographic, again, us filmmakers, you preach it a million times, but you may not necessarily know 100% who your audience is, but you need to have a blueprint of who you're marketing to, because you got to start somewhere. You need to have a core audience, and
a niche.
Yeah, man, and you got to start there. And if it reaches into, you might have little sub sort of audiences in your film as well. Like I in my film, when I have a I have a scene in the movie where death is a topic that it gets talked about quite a bit in my new movie, and that's because I'm dealing a lot with mortality in my life these days, and it sort of found its way into the script. And there's a part there that deals with Alzheimer's disease, and I had two people in the Australian premiere, right, in the Q&A just break down and cry when they started talking about that scene, right? And I'm like, wow, I've really touched on something here, right? And I didn't think about that when I started planning my marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What, that, people would be, interested to see my movie because of these, sort of, subtopics that the movie reaches out to.
Sub niches, if you call them.
Yeah. And my film is also, quite, it deals with a little bit of philosophy and things like that, and it's a very good conversational piece. So that's something that, for example, that's just an example of a marketing niche that I didn't think about. You know what I mean? That evolved through screening the film and then saying, okay, all right, these people are engaging with this. So okay, let's try to push content to these people because they'd be interested in watching it as well. So I think it's a process.
Is now the one thing, and as the beginning of the filmtrepreneur path with making a project is identifying your audience. You made this film for a specific audience. It's not like you made the movie and you're like, oh, let's see who watches it. You were like, I'm making a film in Malta and I'm going to be targeting this person, this niche, this audience. And then you were designing the product to sell to that audience that you have.
And I had it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I had already built that audience from Love to Paradise because a lot of the audience was from
You're
Love
leveraging
to Paradise,
it.
right?
You're leveraging it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of like what I did with This Is Meg. I leveraged my audience on This Is Meg and the audience I have with Indie Film Hustle to create On the Corner of Ego and Desire, which is custom built for a filmmaker, which is my audience.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So
smart man. That's you doing
but it
makes sense, right? It's not like you're cheating or something. It's just common sense. These are the people that want to watch your movie. Of course.
If I'm gonna create a bottle of a widget, and this audience loves widgets, and I'm like, well, I'll create a widget for you because you're already looking at me and talking to me and listening to me. Why shouldn't I create a product that you want to consume and you would want to purchase that from me? That is the basis of what a filmtrepreneur does. It's just the beginning of understanding who your audience is and building a product for that audience, as opposed to what most filmmakers do is they make their art piece and then they try to figure out who the hell to sell it to. Oh, and by the way, we also spent $200,000, but we still have no idea how to spend. So let's just sign a horrible distribution deal and maybe we'll get our money in 20 years.
Yeah.
It's right.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Now, are there any other streams of revenue that you are planning to make from these films, or are making from these films that are not just sales and rentals?
Yeah. At the moment, I'm talking with some SVOD guys, Australian SVOD guys, about a deal here in Australia, and. Besides that, also TV as well. We have like 3 or 4 stations here, network stations as well, which are looking at my movie at the moment as well, which I'm talking to. Yeah.
I was gonna throw you an idea because as a film entrepreneur, I'm always thinking. So I'm like, okay, so if I was being consulted and I'm gonna give you unsolicited advice on what I think you could do with both of these films, I'm assuming you have a lot of footage of Malta. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it make sense to create a maybe 45-minute to hour-long course explaining to people what and where to go in Malta and maybe tips and tricks on how to get around in Malta and leverage your films to do so? Because if people are interested in Malta, they probably and you could be sitting there and you could be doing like, hey guys, when I was shooting my movie, you gotta go check out this place. You gotta go check out this place. This is the place to do it. Boom, boom, boom. And you sell it for $10.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
No residuals for me, sir. No residuals. It's free for you to have. But if you had the time to do something like that, and if you started thinking about that while you were making your movie, but you already have a ton of footage. But if you're thinking about it as you're making it, it's another revenue stream. It's another product that you can, then wouldn't it make sense to sell a package of, hey, do you want to watch, you could buy Love in Paradise, Made in Malta, and the Malta, tourist course for $30. Boom.
Yeah.
Do you think that's anybody, your core audience, who are people who are loving travel or Malta or this, for that niche, this product you could generate a ton of cash with, and be of service to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Right?
Because there's nobody. I doubt there's a lot of video. I doubt anywhere in the world there's a course or a product that shows people how to get around Malta, leveraging 2 feature films that were shot in Malta. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I like it.
That was just an idea.
Yeah, I like it. Keep them coming.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions I ask all of my guests, sir. What advice would you give a filmtrepreneur starting a project?
Think about your audience. We just spoke about it. It's a big one. On a filmtrepreneur side, definitely. I mean, besides the artistic side of making something that you really want to make, having an audience. Look, the thing is this, man. If you're making movies on a micro budget scale and you haven't got names to, which are basically built-in audiences, that's what they are, right? Mm-hmm. If you're trying to, make a movie and get it to an audience, because I think now more than ever it's harder to penetrate the noise out there. Like, it's hard. There's so much content, man. Netflix is just nuts, dude. Like, Netflix is a monster. It's $8 billion.
Oh, don't forget Disney Plus is showing up soon, so get ready.
Yeah, and Apple
TV and Warner Brothers and Universal, they're all coming out with their own streaming services, but Disney's is the big, like that one's going to be, I'm signing up, of course, but
the first thing I do. Yeah, so
go ahead.
The first thing I do in any of my Q&As is thank everyone for coming, and I'm like, I know there's Netflix guys. Thank you. You know what I mean? It's getting harder to put bombs on seats. You know what I mean? Or getting transactions. So getting back to that is this whole thing about defining who your audience is. But in saying that as well, that can evolve. That can evolve. And as I just gave you the example of the of a sub niche that I found through the screen of the movie, that can evolve. But if you haven't got a solid plan, and I'll tell you about your plan as well, because if you start speaking to distributors or exhibitors and stuff about your movie, they're gonna want to see. Okay, not only are they going to watch your movie, right? But they're going to say, okay, what's your plan to getting it out there? And like, for example, they went on my Facebook page. They saw the type of engagement I was getting. Like, I wouldn't have got that. They still wouldn't have done it if I wasn't getting engagement. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to define your audience. You know what I mean? Very, very important. Otherwise, you're just going to have a movie, you're going to throw it up on, wherever, and just hope that people will find it. They're not going to find it, man.
No.
They're not going to find it. They're not. Like, I was lucky with Made in Malta as well, and also I do a little work to build my audience. But I had started that from scratch with Love to Paradise, and I built on that. And with your films, Alex, you've been building indie film hustle day by day, like hard. And you're gathering an audience that you're making films for that are really engaging with it. It makes sense. But for just someone who's just going to make a movie without a definitive audience, it's almost freaking impossible. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're doing a project or whatever, like, who cares? But if you're doing this to try to make a living, like, I am, you are, and like a lot of other people are trying to, become full-time filmmakers. You need to be thinking about that, and also like thinking about other revenue streams. As I said to you before, I run Galea Pictures, doing all this other content and stuff that I do on the side of corporate videos. But I'm also about to launch an online Aboriginal art gallery which is starting hopefully at the end of this week. We're gonna be launching that.
That hustle.
And that's another side hustle that I've got going. There's something I've partnered with someone very, very well known and well respected in the Aboriginal art industry here in Australia, and the opportunity came my way, and we actually met. I actually produced one of her films. She's also a filmmaker, and I produced one of her films 10 years ago. We became great friends, and we've developed this relationship over the years, and the opportunity was there to do something in an online space. and we've created it, and now that's coming. So I'll be working on that sort of stuff in the background. All this like revenue streams, and also my next movie is going to be up there too, creating money.
Is it going to be shot in Malta?
My next one, no.
Okay, where's it going to be shot?
No,
Australia.
I'm coming out to LA, sir.
Nice. Okay.
Are you there? Sorry, we just broke up.
No, I'm here. So, you're going to be out in LA?
Okay. Yeah.
You're going to shoot the next one
in LA?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Good luck. Let me know how it works out as far as like running around.
I'll hit you up. Man. I'll hit you up when I'm there.
No,
but we're not going to be shooting in LA, but I'm going to be based there. We're going to be shooting out in California.
The other thing I want to, now that you were talking about revenue streams, and I don't know if you've even thought about this, and maybe you have, but another revenue stream from the movie that you've made, the two movies that you've made, stock footage. Yeah. All the stock footage that you've shot, all the footage of Malta, aerial shots, all of that stuff. You can go on to like Black Box, who's the sponsor, but you go to blackbox.global and you submit your film to all the stock footages. And it's just, once you have it up there, it's just passive income. And you've got tons of footage that I'm sure would do travel footage that would do very well, right?
Yeah, I do. And you know what? I also had a lot of great reviews and stuff in the Maltese newspapers as well, and saying like how much I'm doing for the country and exposing Malta to the rest of the world, and how this is the most beautiful thing of Malta. Like I've got a lot of great quotes and stuff that people have written, because all the press that I got for Love to Paradise, I got that plus more this time, so I've got a lot of press.
As you should. You're leveraging the first one to grow the second one, and then so on and so on and so on. And it starts, and then, in a few years you have 3, 4, 5 of these movies, and you've got distribution deals laid out with exhibitors all over in different countries and different territories, and you're starting to build a shocking business. You're actually building a business where you can actually start making your movies and pumping them out through the pipeline. And that's the dream, right? And we have the capability to do that.
You've got to think business, eh? I mean, like this, you're doing this podcast, it's very, very important. And it's important to everyone listening here that it is a business, man. It is a business. And, you only can live on the dream for so long. But I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know for that.
The romanticism of being a filmmaker, it's all beautiful. You know what I mean? But let me tell you, man, reality hits in. You need to be making money. You need to be making bank. You need to be paying the rent. And God forbid one day you want to, have a family and all the rest of it. You got responsibilities. So,
Amen.
Man, you need to be thinking. You need to be thinking like a film entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Now, what is the biggest lesson you have learned from building your own company and your own business?
The biggest lesson I learned. I don't know. Can we come back to that?
All right. We can. All right. Let's do the next one. What did you learn from your biggest business failure?
Biggest business failure. I don't think about investing in shares. Investing in shares, that's a big fucking failure. Stay away from them if you don't know what you're doing.
So that's a good right there. If you don't know what you're doing and using your money for, stay away from it.
Worst mistake ever.
It's kind of like investing in a movie where you've never even known about the film business. Like, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. What do they say? What do they say? The fastest way to make a small fortune in the film industry is to start with a large fortune.
Right. Yeah, there you go. That makes sense. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the biggest lesson I learned from starting all this, man. Look, it's a lot more work than what I thought it would be.
Okay.
Like distributing a movie is a lot more work than I anticipated. And even the second time around, you kind of forget how much work it is. Like really.
It's like having a baby.
It's a lot. Yeah, right. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But if it makes financial sense to do it, then do it. If your time is worth more, is more valuable doing another job, then yeah, do a deal with someone that you think makes sense. But if you don't, and some people do it out of necessity as well. Like you might have to self-distribute because no one else wants your movie, and you might have and hopefully you got a niche of people who want to see your movie. And a lot of people don't necessarily get it. I had meetings about meeting Malta with distributors on explaining to them about the movie. This and some people just don't get it. You know, you can't force someone to get something they don't get. You know, so you don't have to be working with.
To kind of to piggyback on what you just said, if you make a product, let's say you make a film for $15, it costs you $15 to make your film on your iPhone, and it looks horrible. It's just based on our critique of the filmmaking process, right? They make a 90-minute movie for $15. Okay, they have 20 people who will pay that guy $10 a piece to see that movie because they love this guy's work. That's a business. Yeah. And you can scale that, and you can grow from that. And that's all it's about. Like, how much can you get? How much ROI can you get from the product that you're creating? And if you made a movie for $5,000 and made $20,000, that's a business. If you made a movie for $5,000 and made $7,000 with it, that's a business. Are you going to be able to live off that? No, but it's a beginning of a business. You've created a product and you want to get a good ROI on that product, and that's what you have to do, right?
Yeah, true.
And in your opinion, what is the definition of a filmtrepreneur?
Not waiting for permission.
Yeah, you know? Good answer.
You gotta do you, man. You know, and you know, we're sitting here where we're chatting, you know, and we're talking from our experience, but really, don't even listen to me. Do your own thing. You know, you got to do you, and you got to not be afraid to fail. I mean, you got to fail.
We all fail. That's the best way to do it. Fail and fail often.
Yeah, you know, you got it. Like in the past, man, I've made some shorts that were freaking terrible, you know, and you know, you do what you do. What are you going to, you know, you learn every stage you learn. But I tell you, you're not going to learn by thinking about it too much, and staying inside your own head is a very dangerous space to be in.
Right.
You know, wouldn't you rather just go and fail at something you love doing than sit here and, you know, mind fuck yourself out of it? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you're going to go, but if I did this, if I did that, you know, those people, if I did this, if I did that, I don't like this, and if that. Like, you don't want to have regret. You don't want to have regret. I think regret is the biggest, like, I think that scares me the most in life. I probably act in a way that, like, I never want to have regret in my life of not doing something that I want to do, you know, and not because someone told me to do it or someone warned me not to do it. I mean, instinctively, I want to, you know, do things in my life that I want to do, you know, regardless of what someone thinks of it. And that's why I want to keep telling stories and keep making movies, because there's stories that I want to tell. And as I grow and go through my life, the type of things that I want to talk about and make movies about starts to change as well, you know. And I'm interested to see what I'm going to do later in life as well, you know, as someone who's viewing my own kind of my own work. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show, brother, and dropping the knowledge bombs on the tribe and it's sharing your journey with us. Where can people buy, rent, watch your work and get in touch with you?
Okay. So madeinmaltamovie.com. Jump on there, all the links to the movie on there, iTunes and Google and Amazon. So just go to madeinmaltamovie.com. lovetoparadise.com for Love to Paradise movie. If you just want to find out info about me, just go to juliangalea.com, and I'm also on Instagram, Julian Galea, as well.
Awesome, brother. Thank you again so much for taking the time out to talk to the tribe, brother.
You got it. Thanks, Alex.